You can wear that, yes.
I can.
Yes, because we are streaming live. Okay, so I can stand by. Good morning, and I welcome you to today's edition of the People's Debate on Pan-African Radio. And this is the 17th day of February in the year 2021. My name is Caesar Sindele to moderate a dialogue, and I have in the studio Andrew Ntewewe, President of the Young African Leaders Initiative, Yali, to help me discuss the pertinent issues that we have on the table for discussion. We'll obviously look at President Edgar Lungu's recent address to Parliament, and of course the conventions of political parties ahead of the general elections slated for August 12th this year, and of course other issues. There's one which is very interesting, where President Edgar Lungu has pledged or has given a very good gesture to a cancer patient, and is going to foot all the medical fees. And we want to hear that from our guests. Obviously, they have something to say about it. President Ntewewe, first and foremost, I welcome you to this interview.
Thank you very much. I'm greatly honored to be on Pan-African Radio this morning.
Right, it's good to have you as well, and our dear listener, you'll be participating on the program later on by coming through on the direct studio lines, which are 0950-650-916, as well as 0974-760894. Simple rules of contributing on this program: you have to be very brief, under a minute, and of course stick to what we have discussed, and above all, do not use vulgar or inflammatory language, lest your contribution gets discontinued. We want to have sober debates, and especially that we are in the election year, we want people to be sober, not emotional, as they contribute on governance issues. They affect everyone, but Zambia is for all of us to safeguard. President Ntewewe, we have a fight against the new strain of COVID-19 in this country, and all the countries are doing the same. Are we winning this fight as Zambia?
We have to continue working very hard. We have to continue adhering to the health guidelines that have been given by the Ministry of Health and the President of the Republic of Zambia. We must continue masking up, social distancing. We must avoid overcrowding. We must avoid super spreader events such as funerals, weddings, chilangamlilos, and all that. We'll do well to do that, because ultimately the people of Zambia must be aware that despite the so many strides that we have been able to make as a country in building more infrastructure, we want to understand that there's a lot more that can still be done in the health sector. And so we don't want this COVID-19 to stretch our healthcare system to a level where it is unable to contain. So it is very important that as citizens, in particular as young leaders across the whole country, we must be able to contribute to this fight against COVID by ensuring that we are following the health guidelines, by ensuring that we are not spreading the disease, but doing the correct thing, so that we get the greater good from others.
Right, and we look at the gesture of President Lungu to a cancer patient. I want to quote exactly his words, and here I quote: "I was deeply moved when I came across pictures on social media of a brave Kawe-based young lady, Miss Chama Msonda, who is currently putting up a courageous fight against lung cancer with great grace and hope. But this is not a fight that we should leave Miss Msonda to fight by herself. In the spirit of who we are as a people of faith and guided by ethos of Ubuntu, I am pledging that I will meet all the medical requirements to cater for Miss Chama Msonda's treatment, as we all pray for God's healing mercies. let me take this opportunity to ask you, my fellow citizens, to join me and my family tonight in saying a prayer for Ms. Chama Msonda and others in similar situations. And of course, that's President Edgar Lungu making a pledge of helping somebody that is in need of treatment for lung cancer. Your take on this development coming from the head of state?
As the Young African Leaders Initiative, and well as the Democracy and Motherland Defenders Coalition, we are deeply moved by the gesture that His Excellency the President has been able to give to Ms. Chama Msonda. We want to believe that the head of state has demonstrated humanity. He has demonstrated Ubuntu. He has demonstrated faith and belief in the young people of this country, and has demonstrated one of the biggest qualities of leadership, which is love and care for others. We know that there are so many others in the situation of Ms. Chama Msonda, but the very act that the President has given calls all of us to think about the neighbor next door, about our relatives, about our brothers and sisters, that we can do more. Those of us who have a little bit more, we must be called upon to do more. So the Yali commends this heartfelt, humane gesture that the President has given. And we want to believe that this gesture sends a message to the entire citizenry of Zambia that we must continue to demonstrate Ubuntu as part of our national value and principle. So we are deeply moved for the love, kindness, and care which the President has demonstrated, and we do commend him for that.
We pray for her healing, and as well, the President and the family also gave a prayer for everyone that has a similar situation.
The young leaders movement in this country, the young people across the country are in prayer with Ms. Msonda. We pray for the almighty hand of God to touch her. We pray for the almighty God and the blessing of healing, that even as doctors can do everything humanly possible, it is our prayer and hope that Ms. Msonda can eventually come out of this ordeal.
Right, this is the People's Debate, and I'm playing host to Andrew Ntewewe, President of the Young African Leaders Initiative, Yali. And the numbers that you'll be getting in touch with us for your question or expression of your view, 0950-650-916 and 0974-760894. We move on to the recent presidential address to Parliament, and we haven't heard from Yali regarding your reactions to the statement the President made in Parliament recently on the national values and principles.
First of all, the President's action by showing so much love to one of the citizens, so much love to one of the young leaders, I think is an icing to the cake of the Sona address that he gave in Parliament last week. The Sona address was calling on all of us as Zambian citizens to once again revitalize and re-energize ourselves, to believe in our values and principles which have been very well set out in the Republican Constitution. And in this, from the Yali point of view, and also from the Democracy and Motherland Defenders Coalition, we pick on what the President says when he says we must live as one Zambia, one nation. that the motto "One Zambia, One Nation" must be respected, and we must walk the talk. That there are 73 ethnic tribes in this country, but ultimately we are one nation. And in speaking to love, coexistence, and tolerance, the President makes a very, very key assurance to the people of the Republic of Zambia that elections will always come and go, but Zambia will remain. It is therefore important that even as we are entering the election season, even as we are entering the campaign season, that the Zambian people will remain peaceful. And that is the assurance that the President has given to the people of the Republic of Zambia, that we must remain peaceful. And from the Yali point of view and the coalition's point of view, we want to once again echo the sentiments that have been given by the President, that indeed there is no one worth dying for. We have heard some sentiments about our people, some of them saying, we are going to die if this candidate does not win an election. We want to be very clear. There is no one worth dying for. Zambia has been a peaceful nation since 1964. For over 55 years, we have enjoyed this peace. So the assurance that has been given by the President that we are going to have peaceful elections is very welcome and very commendable. That assurance must be taken very seriously by our law enforcement agencies. And I want to reiterate what we have stated before, that our law enforcement agencies have been entrusted and given a big responsibility to ensure that this country is at peace. It is therefore imperative that the law enforcement agencies ensure that there is law and order, that we have violence-free elections. And that means that any perpetrator of political violence must be dealt with effectively. I want to indicate here, it don't matter your color, whether you are green, blue, red, yellow, white. The law enforcement agencies must be able to deal with anyone that perpetrates violence. That is what the President has indicated in his presidential speech. So for us, we take that very seriously, and we want to welcome that announcement and assurance given by the President, and want to call on law enforcement agencies that they're going to do the correct thing and ensure that our elections are peaceful.
And what's your take on the law that is coming on cybercrime? I know this is an election year, and many people would love to abuse social media platforms to
absolutely
to peddle lies and, of course, perpetrate hate speech. What's your take on this law? What are your expectations if it's enforced?
Absolutely, I'm going to deal with that. But just allow me for a second to buttress the importance of peaceful elections. That having peaceful elections, it is not about making statements only. All of us must be able to play a role. And political parties here have been called upon to emulate the presidential commitment to peace. And what that means, for instance, is that we are now in a democracy season. There will be more than 10 presidential candidates in the 2021 elections, from the way we see it. Out of those 10, there will only be one candidate that is going to win the elections. Only one candidate. So if you are on the political scene and you are a candidate in this year's elections at presidential level, we want to sound a very clear warning that we don't want to see what happened in 2016, where some presidential candidates, after losing an election, they refuse to accept the election result.
You have sounded a warning. In what capacity?
So, I'm sounding a warning from the Young Leaders Movement. I'm sounding a warning from the Young African Leaders Initiative point of view. I'm sounding a warning from the Democracy and Motherland Defenders Coalition that as citizens in this country, we have accepted democracy as a means of governing ourselves. It is therefore important that anyone who seeks to aspire for presidency and has accepted democracy as a means of governance must be able to understand that ultimately there can only be one winner. There can only be one winner. We don't want a repeat of what happened in 2016, where some individuals unscrupulously decided to reject the election result. Even after being given an opportunity to go to court, and the court decides to say this is the way things must be, unfortunately those individuals have refused to accept those election results. And here I want to be very clear. The biggest opposition political party, UPND, and its leader, Hakainde Hichilema, must not promote anarchy and undemocratic tendencies by not accepting election results.
So in short, you had a predetermined statement to
Look,
make.
my position is very clear that political parties must accept election results. Failure to accept election results is tantamount to anarchy. Here we are, and I am marrying it directly. No wonder I have not responded to the issue of cyberbullying and the cyber bill. I am responding to the issue of peaceful elections. What are the preconditions for a peaceful election? One of the key preconditions of peaceful elections is that competitors, candidates, must agree from the beginning to accept an election result. If you don't accept an election result, why go into a democracy? If you don't want to accept an election result, why even electioneer? You have a situation and you ask me, are you predetermined? I'm not predetermined. I'm speaking from experience. The experience we've had in 2016 is very bad for democracy, where you have one political leader who in his own mind decides, even after institutions of governance have made the decision, decides, I don't accept the election result. Today, Caesar, it's 5 years after the 2016 elections. And this individual has up to now not accepted the election result, has up to now not recognized the President of the Republic of Zambia. That is anarchy. That is having a very bad heart. That is not what Zambia is about. Zambia is about peace. Zambia is about love. Zambia is about caring. And that is why we are saying, as we are approaching the 2021 elections, we don't want what happened in 2016. Because ultimately, the people of Zambia are the ones who make a decision. So you cannot convince yourself in your mind that you have won an election even before it has not happened. You can't convince yourself. You have not gone in the minds of the people of the Republic of Zambia. What gives you, what witchcraft are you using to believe that you have already won the election? Because it
to the people of Zambia, because that was his last address to Parliament.
Is where he says the speech was hollow. Unless he did not listen to the speech. Because insofar as we are concerned, we took time, we listened to the speech. The president spent 1 minute of silence to mourn so many citizens who have lost their lives. I want to believe that those citizens who have lost their lives, who have succumbed to COVID-19, who have succumbed to various deaths, include Samansama and Kaunda. The president spent 5 minutes mourning the great citizens of the Republic who have died, but also, most importantly, dedicated a minute of silence. So, to us, that was care enough. That was love enough. And we want to warn politicians that you don't want to make politics out of unfortunate incidences of death of other citizens. Ultimately, Samansama was a father. He was an uncle. There were others who have lost their lives, who were uncles, who were daddies, who were relatives of other people. So this behavior of politicians, trying to play politics with people's death, is unacceptable. We have seen some politicians who in 2020 were even carrying coffins in town. They were allowing their cadres to carry coffins in town, just trying to make political capital out of people's death. That is unacceptable, it's immoral, it's uncultural, it's un-African. It must not be accepted. Having said that, let me not forget the question that you had raised on the issue of cyberbullying. The biggest challenge ahead of the 2021 elections will be social media. And if, for instance, government does not move quickly to table a bill in Parliament to be able to deal with the hate speech that is perpetrated on social media, it means even our talk about peaceful elections will be in vain. I want to use this platform to call on government that the cyber crimes bill, must be tabled in Parliament like yesterday. Because if it is not dealt with, if social media hate is not dealt with, if the cyberbullying we are seeing on the internet is not dealt with, it will become one of the serious risks to the peace that this country has enjoyed ahead of the 2021
Now,
election.
you being a civil society leader who is seasoned in this country, and I believe you are privy to what is contained therein in the bill. Would you share with the people what is there?
We are.
We know what exactly
we are studying the bill right now because Cabinet just approved the bill and it was made available to the general public just a few days ago. We are currently studying the bill and we'll be able to give our informed position. You must be able to understand that from the Yali point of view, as well as from the coalition's point of view, we're very clear in what we do. The principle is clear, it's simple, that cyber crimes must be dealt with. Cyberbullying must be dealt with. Hate speech must be dealt with. And the biggest perpetrator we are seeing today, one of the biggest challenges that we're going to have as we approach the 2021 elections. And you want to be able to understand that communication and ICT methods, if not properly handled, have a serious problem. I want to remind you that, for instance, in Rwanda, the genocide of 1994 was perpetrated by the media. Yes, by 1994, there was not so much issue about social media, so people were using radio and so forth and so on, but also global as a whole. So, this is a global problem Just like COVID-19 is a global problem, the abuse of social media is a global pandemic. It therefore requires urgent action. And our Leaders Initiative, as well as the Democracy and Motherland Defenders Coalition, must be tabled in Parliament soonest. Right. So that those perpetrators of heinous crimes on social media are brought.
Right, let's move on to another item relating to conventions of political parties. I know the UPND recently conducted
the 2016 amendment of the Constitution makes the political party a creature of the Constitution. And because it is a creature of the Constitution, it must be able to abide by the national values and principles which as a country we have ascribed to. That is why you hear us talk about these conventions. So, you asked me directly about the UPND convention. I want to be very clear.
I didn't ask you directly about the UPND. I just cited this.
You cited.
And yes, so there was no question about UPND. I just brought in
so, but now I'm going to respond directly
yes,
to the UPND.
You are at liberty.
Yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to respond directly to the UPND convention because this is a convention that took place just over the weekend. Let me not beat about the bush. I want to be very clear this morning that we consider the UPND convention a sham. It's a sham in the sense that it does not meet the benchmarks of a democratic convention. It's a sham in the sense that it does not pass the litmus test of a democratic convention. Why do I say so? Number one, Caesar. I say so because the UPND delegates across the country were cheated from the word go. They were cheated. The UPND delegates were gongered. They went to a convention believing that after 15 years, for the first time in 15 years, they could have an opportunity to elect a president. They didn't have that opportunity. They were cheated because they went to the convention believing that after 15 years, they could elect their own vice president. But no, it didn't happen. The UPND delegates were cheated because they believed that they would go to a convention and choose their secretary general. They didn't have that opportunity. Now, the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia in Article 60 is very clear. It says political parties must hold periodic elections which are free, fair, credible. A political party must not intimidate its own members. What UPND did over the weekend was to simply intimidate their members, to cow them into submission.
Have they complained?
I am indicating to you, you understand that somebody who's being intimidated may not even have an opportunity to speak out. It is those of you who are outside who should do the noble thing of speaking out. They went to the convention to choose a president. They didn't choose a president. They went to a convention to elect a vice president. You want to understand that UPND has two vice presidents. Needs to have two vice presidents, one political, one for administration. They came back gongered. They were cheated. That is number one. Number two, Caesar. We are now told that UPND amended its constitution. amended its constitution to give more powers to the president. They amended the constitution so that delegates do not choose a vice president, delegates cannot choose a secretary general, delegates cannot choose a national chairperson. And the amendment says delegates cannot choose chairpersons of committees. All these, in addition to 30, will be chosen by the president. What is that if not dictatorship? What is that? What is that? The people of Zambia ask a question. You go to a convention, people expect to elect people in key positions, and they come back empty-handed. They're told, go back. Now, the president will choose. What was the essence of the convention? What was the purpose of the convention? The purpose of the convention was to elect leaders. Now you go to a convention, you come back, no, go back, the president has sleepless nights to now think about who is going to appoint as vice president. To now...
Do you understand the UPND constitution?
First of all...
Have you read it?
Listen, the biggest challenge that we have had and that the Zambian public have had is that the UPND have kept their constitution as a closely guarded secret. You
said the UPND has 2 vice presidents according to their constitution. Have you read that?
Yes.
The UPND, according to their constitution, have 4 vice presidents.
UPND has come out very clear by their actions. They appointed the vice president political, who was Canisius Banda, Dr. Canisius Banda. They also appointed vice president administration, who was Dr. GBM. The fundamental principle is the fact that they have had 2 vice presidents. If they say they have 4 own party, I choose who becomes vice president, I choose who becomes the chairperson, I choose who becomes secretary general, I choose who becomes the national spokesperson. What was the convention for? Now, remember Caesar. Caesar, you want to remember that we have recently had a very big debate in the country. Remember? We have had a very serious debate in the country. And what was the debate about? Bill number 10. What was Bill number 10 about? Amending the Republican Constitution. Amending the Republican Constitution was not done in a bedroom. No. The amended Republican Constitution, the amendment bill, was thrown to you and me, to the entire country. And the entire country went on to debate. And one Hakainde came and told Zambia and said, this bill is draconian, this bill is dictatorial, it wants to give power to only one person. Reject it. As it were, bill number 10 is water under the bridge. It was subjected to a democratic process. And it's water under the bridge. But look at this same character and how he has managed to amend the constitution of UPND with impunity, with no transparency, no accountability whatsoever. First of all, he amended the UPND constitution. The Mazoka constitution was very clear. You contest the presidency of UPND twice, you have to leave. He amended it in 2010 so that he becomes the perpetual life president of UPND. Come 2021, he then amends the UPND constitution to give himself power to become the alpha and omega of UPND.
Do you want to see him on the ballot this year?
No, it's not a question of wanting to see him on the ballot. I'm discussing his dictatorial tendencies.
That's the question I have.
No, I am asking his dictatorial tendencies. And these, to me, if I was to respond to your question, these are issues which the Zambian people must be able to look at. This gentleman is a turncoat.
Meaning?
He's a chameleon. He don't have a position. I've given you a position here that not long ago, he was calling government all sorts of names over Bill number 10, which was in public domain. He called the government all sorts of names. They are not transparent, they are not accountable, they are dictatorial, they are undemocratic. All sorts of adjectives came from Hakainde's mouth. Now, in his own part, he has been doctoring the constitution at will. The question to the Zambian people is this person who has made himself a perpetual president, a life president of UPND, can this person be trusted with instruments of power?
We move on. The same convention for UPND.
Yes.
You have been quoted by a section of the media criticizing UPND that they sang the national anthem in Tonga. Was that true?
So, first of all,
and what was wrong?
First of all, let me be very clear. We have an official language in this country. When you go to our parliament, we use the official language. And we sing the national anthem at national events in our language, in the official language. And our founders, the founders of this great land, were not naive when they said, let us use the official language in the national anthem at national events. They were not naive, because they realized that Zambia had 73 dialects. So, if at a national event you want to use Kunda, someone who is Ila will complain. Someone who's Bisa will complain. Someone who's Luvale or Lunda will complain. So the official language was a neutralizer.
We have the song.
So the principle.
Let's listen to that song. Then we verify whether it was really Tonga.
First of all, I am not.
No.
I am not.
You will respond. You will continue after.
But what I am saying.
You will continue after this. Let me moderate accordingly.
Yes.
Let's play this song, the national anthem. They had there, and then we'll get back to what you are saying. You are going to exhaust your thoughts. That's a song, the national anthem. What language is that?
I was able to pick about 2 or 3 languages in there.
The major languages which are used on ZNBC, the local languages, are in that song.
So, but now
So
here is the
where
point.
is the problem?
So
And
here
English
is
also part
here
of
is
that.
a point, Caesar. Let's not miss the point. The point is this: there are 73 dialects in this country. 73. If you sing a Kunda song, I've been very clear. You may not understand Kunda. I'm Kunda. You are going to complain. Somebody who's Lovale is also going to complain. The idea by our people at the beginning was that the national anthem should be sung in the official language. And as I've indicated, it was simple for purposes of neutralizing ethnic
We are
division.
guided as a nation by the Republican Constitution, right?
Yes.
Is it anywhere enshrined that Zambians should sing the national anthem in English?
Absolutely no way.
But why is your problem with that?
I don't have a problem.
If you don't have a problem, why criticizing it?
So my point is very clear. Is the fact that you cannot use one single language. If you heard what the quotation in the in that publication, I was very clear. You can't use one local language to sing the national anthem. And I was clear to the reporter that if, for instance, they sang the Tonga, then they make themselves look like a tribal political party. I didn't listen to the song.
But you had an opportunity.
But the reporter was talking to me and indicating that there are insinuations that UPND sang the national
That's
anthem in
according
Tonga.
to the reporter.
That's the thing.
Meaning the reporter didn't verify.
The reporter was asking me a question, and I responded. And in my response, I'm very clear. If is a qualifying word. They sang only in Tonga. Then they're confirming their tribalism.
Now, why were you quick off the mark just to comment without getting
But I've told you even the way I've commented. I qualified my comment. It is not as if I did not qualify it. I qualified my comment. And even as you're asking me these questions here pertaining to what language must be used, I am saying the founders of this great country, the reason why they settled on English was because it was a neutralizer to the 73 ethnic divisions that we have, ethnic dialects that we have. So, my response, the one that you're quoting, is based on the information given to me by the reporter. And my response was qualified. If you look at that media clip, you are going to notice that my statement is very clearly qualified. I want to reiterate, though, one fundamental point, and that is, it is important to avoid raising issues for no reason. For instance, you don't want your convention to be called tribal simply because of a technical foul. You want to ensure that you do things as per the guidance of the Republican Constitution. And the guidance of the Republican Constitution is that one of our key national values is a national anthem. And the national anthem at national events, even when the president is speaking, you have never heard the president speaking and then is preceded by a national anthem in Bemba, or a national anthem in Nyanja, or a national anthem in a particular tribe. No! It's sung in English. Why? It is a neutralizer. So, I have listened to the song. There were 3 or 4 other tribes, other languages in there. Meaning that the information given to me by the reporter was wrong. But
so you blame the reporter.
I fundamentally put it forward that it was not necessary to even use a local language.
But you blame the reporter.
Yes, because the reporter may have misinformed me.
Now, this is an election year, as I said earlier. How do you expect the media now to give reportage on on governance issues? Because
this is our position. This is our position, that the media must be as objective as possible. The media must not take sides. But of course, the media must analyze. This convention was a sham, because ultimately what happened is that they said no to any observers.
Gears was present.
Now, Gears, insofar as we are concerned, was invited as a commissioner. They invited commissioners. But observers, they were restricted. As a Democracy and Motherland Coalition, one of our partner institutions wrote a letter and requested that UPND accredits them. UPND denied, rejected. And if they denied and rejected an independent monitor to come and monitor the elections, the biggest question you must be asking yourself is, what is it that they were saying no to? What were they hiding? Remember, again, this is a turncoat, which UPND is very famous for. When we said ECZ should engage with foreign affairs with a view to limit the number of foreign observers, they were quick. Why do you want to stop foreign observers from coming into the country? We said the rationale is because we are in a COVID era. And most of the countries, most of the people coming from Europe, most of the people coming from the United States are coming from seriously COVID-ravaged countries. There are more people dying in Europe of COVID, there are more people dying in the US of COVID, and so forth and so on. So you cannot allow those people to come in the country. You must restrict. They said any election, for it to be credible, it must have enough monitors, enough observers. But here they are holding a convention, and they refused every other independent monitor and observer to come through.
Which political party in this country has held a convention with the presence of independent observers?
There are a number of political parties.
Can you mention
For instance, the mother of democracy in this country is MMD. MMD is a political party that has religiously gone to a convention, and their conventions have been monitored by various political players.
Which other party?
PF went to a convention in 2014, yes. And it was accredited. They accredited various organizations, including foreign embassies, went to observe the PF convention.
Now, as a
the MMD convention of 2011 was once again monitored and observed by various political players.
Now, as a CSO,
the Democratic Party, DP, just held its convention in September. They allowed for civil society organizations to come and monitor their elections. So, what was so special about the UPND convention? That they denied the participation of local monitors.
So what should be done for
Number
political
four, you as a media personnel, you must be concerned that this political party that professes and preaches transparency every day blacked out the media at a crucial time at the convention. What was done that the media was not supposed to report about? Why was the media blacked out? So, these are the fundamental reasons why we are calling that convention a sham.
Now the question is, what must be done in the immediate for political parties to ensure that they deliver a free and fair intra-party polls?
First of all, you must be able to understand that as a Young African Leaders Initiative, we have pushed very hard for the enactment of the political parties bill. We are very concerned about the level of dictatorial tendencies that are being experienced in political parties. Very, very concerned. And it is our hope and prayer that the political parties bill will be tabled in Parliament. The biggest challenge we've had is that whenever we are trying to push a progressive motion, a progressive agenda, such as the political parties bill or the public order bill in Parliament, we have been frustrated by certain individuals. It is our prayer and hope that the political parties bill will once again see the light of day in Parliament. We are very concerned about these issues, and I think that we have been very clear before, and you are very aware that as a Democracy and Motherland Defenders Coalition, we have also been very clear that we are also concerned about political party financing and where some of these political parties are getting their money. We are aware that some political parties are affiliated to homosexual organizations in the globe. We are also aware that some of these political parties have pledged our national assets for sale if they were to form government. All these are issues that concern us at a political party level, and we want to believe that these can be dealt with only by coming up with a stronger political parties bill that will regulate the conduct of political parties.
Right, so the numbers that should be calling us on shortly for your contribution are 0950-650-916 and 0974760894. My studio guest is Andrew Ntewewe, President of the Young African Leaders Initiative, Yali. Mr. Ntewewe, let's talk about the general elections now.
Yes.
Opposition political parties who are participating. Maybe my question should be those that will not go for conventions in line with the Republican Constitution's requirement. Should ECZ allow them to participate? Should they feel
So I have briefly answered your question in my earlier submission. My earlier submission was this: the Republican Constitution places the responsibility and obligation on political parties to hold intra-party elections. That is in Article 60 of the Republican Constitution. Now, to actualize what Article 60 does and talks about, you must be able to come up with the Political Parties Bill. Political Parties Act. This act is the one that will actualize the instruction in the Republican Constitution. Now, you must be able to understand that it has been pressure to get the Political Parties Bill to become in effect. It was one of the key issues that was deliberated upon at the National Dialogue Forum. And unfortunately, even the NDF did not come up with a Political Parties Bill for 2019. It didn't. It is not one of the bills that were forwarded to Parliament. No. So, in the absence of the Political Parties Bill, you cannot enforce Article 60 of the Republican Constitution. In essence, what I am saying to you is this: that even if a political party has not gone to a convention, it becomes a problem to stop them or enforce the Political Parties Bill because we don't have the Political Parties Act that regulates these activities. So until at such a point that we are going to have the Political Parties Act, the Political Parties Act is the one that is now going to stipulate how political parties will conduct themselves. It is the one that is going to stipulate the measures as well as punitive action that can be taken to a political party that does not follow the guidelines which are prescribed in the Political Parties Act. So currently, you don't have any enforceability because you don't have the Political Parties Act. So in the absence of the Political Parties Act, there's very little or nothing you can do to political parties.
Right, we officially open the phone lines, and the numbers are 0950650916 and 0974760894. Be brief as you make your submission, and of course, stick to what we have discussed, and above all, do not use vulgar language, or else your contribution will not go on. We want sober debates. We pick our first call here. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, we've lost that call, but come through. Do not despair. Definitely, you are going to be a part of this program. Hello there. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. How are you doing?
Fine, and how are you?
Very fine.
Good morning,
Good morning, sir. How are you doing this morning?
morning.
Nagwalia. Okay, contribution. Okay, Babwalia. Tuatotela sana. Line yenu tayachumfika buno pa mama last year. But otherwise, thank you so much for your contribution. We are still picking your calls. We have another call here. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Yo, mawachan mkwacho. Ziko.
Simple
Okay.
Kana, go ahead.
Simple Kana.
Okay, Simple Kana. Yes, conclude. All right, Simple Kana, thank you. Thank you so much for coming through, Simple Kana. We'll pick another call on the lines are 0950650916 and 0974760894. Let's use on the line. Good morning. twasebenza cha bebu no bwanje uko.
Hello, at Bwanji, mwa choma Bwanji.
Respond to.
So first of all, I want to thank the first caller in terms of his kind remarks. He was happy with my articulation, and I want to indicate that we seek to be as objective as possible in terms of the way we analyze matters for this greater good, for the greater good of our motherland. Secondly, I want to respond to Simple Canel, who said that there was nothing wrong with HH going through unopposed. Now, here is a scenario, Caesar, which we must be able to look at. Number one, there is nothing wrong with anyone going through unopposed in an election if you are contesting for the first time. There's nothing wrong. But there is everything wrong with an individual contesting elections after 15 years being at the helm of the political party. Being at the helm of the political party 15 years and you go through unopposed. There's everything wrong with that. Because if you go through after being at the helm for 15 political party, 15 years, Caesar, for your own information, we want to relate to the Republican Constitution. The Republican Constitution says someone can serve for 2 terms of office, 5 years each. It means that you can be in office for 10 years. What kind of democracy is that? What is it that we aspire for as a country? This one goes on and says, no, it is good that we didn't have you people around. It is good because we are truthful and we are objective. So we would have told you what actually happened at the convention. But as it were, the truth cannot be defeated. The truth is now coming out. UPND has accepted that they amended the constitution to suit whose interest? Was it for the general membership? No, it wasn't. Because as I've indicated, the general membership went to elect a president. They found that the president was unopposed. So they didn't even elect a president. Then they said, okay, they can't vote like a vice president. No, the constitution has changed. The vice president cannot be appointed by the president. Oh, no, okay, because you can't vote like a secretary general. No. You can't vote for the secretary general. The constitution is such that secretary general and the national chairperson and the vice presidents are appointed. This is the discretion of the president. What democracy is that? That is a mockery of democracy. That convention was a sham. It did not meet the litmus test of a democratic convention. It did not meet just the basic tenets. And what is very sad is this, that as I've indicated, that here is a political party that seeks office and is unable to respect its own constitution. Unable to. This is a political party that every day preaches transparency and is unable to be transparent. Even you, the media, were blacked out, were chased from covering the convention. What democracy is that? Because democracy, Caesar, means that people must be allowed to speak freely and information must be available for people to make informed decisions. Now you black out the media, you chase independent monitors, you change the constitution to give one person more power to the extent that delegates go, they don't elect the president, they don't elect the vice president, they don't elect the national chairperson, they don't elect the secretary general, and some civil society leaders shamefully come out and say, no, we congratulate UPND for having a peaceful election. After all these irregularities, after all this doctoring, cooking, no, that is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. And you see, this behavior that has been exhibited at this convention is synonymous with what we have been talking about. To say, why is it that you want to continue being this dictatorial political party? We're demanding that UPND goes for a convention. This is not the type of convention that we're demanding for. We're demanding for a convention that would meet the basic benchmarks. We're demanding for a convention that would cleanse UPND of its tribal tag. Unfortunately, even at the end of this convention, the UPND tribal tag has not finished.
So would you want them to reconvene?
Look, it is up to them. As I have indicated, the reality is that without the Political Parties Act, it's very difficult to enforce Article 60. Because this would be very good grounds of challenging that convention. It would go to court. It has not met the benchmarks. People at that convention were intimidated. You amended the constitution on the day of the convention. The other law, which is the Societies Act, demand that if you are making any amendment to the constitution, this information must be made available to the registrar of societies well in advance. Was that information made available to the registrar of societies? No. And why is it that this political party which seeks to form government has made sure that its political party constitution is a secret? Why is it a secret? Every day you preach, government must be transparent. Yes, government must be transparent. And we'll be demanding that government is transparent. But so must political parties. They must also be transparent.
Have you responded to all the callers?
I have responded to all of them.
So let's speak another set of calls. Hello there. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Oh, are you there? Yes. Now you're too low. Okay, that is too low. It's too low. But keep calling. The number still remains 0950-650-916 and 0974-760894. Good morning.
Morning, how are you, my dear?
I'm very fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing very fine. Not
Tulifewe mulishani. Wanangoma twatotela.
I'm very much disappointed with the UPND. Very much disappointed. I was the person who was talking to you. Around convention. What I can call the convention now, it's not a convention, it's a confusion. We have to learn one or two things we have abantu abaneswaba. If you can have a dictatorship, umuntu ke umonke ubani umonke awo which means in fact that we open the another one they call on plan they for the that it's a computer party, it's a dictatorship party, the Bakalala and so on. I have to that inside. But the observation is very important.
Okay, thank you so much for that. You can respond to Vanangoma.
Vanangoma, what you are indicating, you share the same feeling and the same thoughts with us. We have been very clear before that unfortunately UPND's actions and its convention do not meet the benchmarks of a credible election. So Vanangoma, taona kutiba UPND wanakangiwa kushita hold convention ya mene meeting ama standards. And it is our hope and prayer that the citizens can look at this behavior which UPND has demonstrated and be able to be held accountable. Because ultimately, it is about citizens' participation. Remember, citizens ngati mungala chabezi simu kambapo, then ikala challenge. The biggest fear which we have from the Yali point of view, and for the Democracy and Motherland Defenders Coalition, is that Mwanena Kuzirani Vanangoma, here is a person who is saying no to amending the Constitution of Zambia. This Constitution of Zambia was made public. The Bill 10 was made public. Everyone was able to read it. Everyone was able to criticize it. Everyone was able to say what their views were on this Constitution. This person says, no, this Constitution is undemocratic, it's not correct, the process to try and amend it was wrong, and so forth and so on. 2 days later, the same person goes to the convention and sneaks in an amendment to their Constitution. We find that behavior unacceptable. And I want to indicate very clearly to say that the convention of UPND did not meet the benchmarks of a democratic convention.
Right, we pick more calls on 0950-650-916 and 0974760894. Hello, good morning. Morning, how are you? Good morning. I'm very fine, you are Elvis.
Thank you very much. I like it when your voice is energized. It's like you're just the way she energized the family from retail. The voice is Caesar is a voice of reason. Good morning, Mr. Ntewewe.
Good morning. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very fine, Mr. Ntewewe. It's very good to listen to you. You're updating you quite well. Let me talk about the UPND confusion. That was a general confusion in Basenza. This dictator, the UPND president, cannot just wake up and change the constitution. That was a sham. Even on their social blogs, you see the comments which are there. The elections were adopted from New Kasama. That's where the elections were adopted from. A person gets 900 in the provincial level, what is that? And the same people are talking about democracy, transparency, credibility of an election, and all the election has taken long, which has taken 3 days for the general election. Now, 300 votes is taking 4 days in UPND. Is that a democracy? This despotic nature of our country, but today cannot be taken into government. They have shown us by example why we are in opposition. Why can't we Zambians reason to see these people who are in the opposition like the UPND? They cannot rule this country. They have failed to perform in the opposition. They have general confusion in there. I can tell you the story. As Mr. Ntewewe is saying, this dictator will not be removed from the UPND unless you UPND members wake up and tell the person that no, enough is enough. You cannot be choosing the people you go to choose a president you find is an opponent. You go to choose a vice president you find that there is no such thing there. They will be appointed by the president. You go to choose the secretary general, no, you will be appointed by the president.
Okay, Elvis. Conclude. Thank you. Elvis. Elvis, thank you so much. Okay, Elvis, thank you so much. You have spoken at length. Let's also accommodate others as well on the program. Hello, good morning. Good morning, how are you doing? Okay, bye-bye.
Wino babwali amashuka shani.
Kungandela babukafe bwino babwali.
Okay. I'm grateful. Thank you very much.
For coming through. We can still pick another call on the program. We'll have somebody on the line. Good morning. Morning. How are you? Very fine, thank you. And you? Zina, ndimwandani. Levi. Nakai, where are you? Where is Nakai? Gwembe.
Bwido bwaji Levi. Tumbera.
Okay, Valevi, your okay, time Yasila Valevi. Okay, well, Levi, thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much, Levi, for coming through. Very emotional there. You can respond. I'm sure we always emphasize. I wish I could bang on this table that we shouldn't be emotional, but the message has been heard. Yeah,
so first of all, I want to thank all the callers. I want to thank Elvis. I want to thank Walia. I also want to thank Levi. I also want to thank Vanangoma for all the submissions that you have been able to make. Of all these submissions, I noted that Levi is the one that was supporting the UPND. And he was saying, Mumuleke la kuchitira because Oloime Ntewewe ngati ni mnyumba wanu prabe muntu anga kuuzeni. I want to indicate Levi. Bazungu wanakamba charity begins at home. Mwana wa bwino omonera panganda panyumba pamene achokera ndiye pamene wamuonera. If you are not able to manage your house properly, how can you manage several houses? It becomes a challenge. Ngati taenda ku Bible ikamba kuti ngati muntu akangiwa kusunga banja yake bwino in a proper way, that person cannot be given the responsibility of being a shepherd in the congregation. All this speaks to one and the same thing. That the reason why we are insisting that political parties must be democratic is because at national level, we have said we are a democracy. So if in your own political party you are failing to be democratic, the biggest question you must ask is, how then are you going to manage to have democracy at national level? This is a very big fundamental question, which Levi and some of the UPND cadres must be able to understand. If someone is going to have a strong hand within his own political party, he amends the constitution to the extent that he can contest elections countless number of times, declares himself life president of this political party. What about if this person is trusted with instruments of power? What would happen? Remember, the president of the Republic of Zambia is so powerful. So you cannot afford to have somebody who comes with a strong hand. Because you have the president who's already powerful, you have the president who's already powerful, and then you want to give him a strong hand. Where are you going to go to? So that is what we are talking about here, Levi. We are saying political parties must be democratic. Once they are democratic, then you can say we can give you instruments of power and get state power. That's what we are saying.
But do we have a democratic political party this time? Because all call each other names.
What we are discussing here, Caesar, what I was analyzing was a UPND convention. That's what I was analyzing.
But you're saying political parties should be democratic.
Political parties should be democratic. I've given you examples of political parties that have gone to a convention where there have not been issues. You never heard of a democratic party that people manipulated the constitution, amended it. You never heard. You never heard in some political parties that the president went to a convention and said, you cannot elect the vice president, you cannot elect the secretary general. You've never heard of that. This is the first of its kind in Zambia, where a president in a political party wants to change the constitution to suit himself. This is the first of its kind. And so when I generalize for being conservative. I generalize that other political parties should learn that you don't handle a convention the way UPND has handled a convention. That is not a model. What we expect is that political parties must be able to adhere with the provisions of democratic governance. I've spoken so much about the UPND convention, and I think that I've been very, very exhaustive. There is an element which we have heard from the Yali point of view, where some people have castigated the SONA, that the president did not even talk about the issue of corruption. Now, our study of the State of the Nation address by the president in Parliament was very clear. From paragraph 134 of his speech, actually from 130 of his speech to 144, 14 paragraphs were dedicated to dealing with governance, integrity in the utilization of public resources. One thing that made us very impressed from the Young African Leaders Initiative point of view and the coalition is that the president was not waffling about the issue of corruption. He was giving a clear direction in terms of how we are supposed to fight it as a nation. The last time I was here on this program, Caesar, I told you that, look, you can complain about government procurement, that most of the goods are procured at a higher price. What is the solution? I told you we had made submissions to the Ministry of Finance relating to the amendment of the Procurement Act. When the president came to Parliament last week, he was able to report that the Procurement Act of 2020 is now in effect. What that means, Caesar, is that we are nipping corruption from the bud. You are not talking about it for purposes of political rhetoric. No. By instituting the Procurement Act, government has demonstrated effective political will to curb and mitigate corruption. One of the challenges we have had as a country is where a situation where a road of 2 kilometers will cost less here, there it will cost more, and so forth and so on. With the coming in of the Procurement Act, all those discrepancies are going to be removed. Therefore, those who say the president did not touch the issue of corruption, we want to tell them that the very fact that government has been able to institute the Procurement Act, that is a very big step in the right direction to destroy and mitigate corruption in this country. That is the first point. The second point, the president also goes on to indicate that during the parliamentary session of 2020, government has now come up with the Budgeting and Planning Act. Now, the Budgeting and Planning Act, Caesar, will play a critical role of ensuring that citizens are able to effectively participate in the budgeting of government. When they participate in in planning and in budgeting, you create an opportunity for citizens to even monitor government expenditure. So the Budget and Planning Act, which has been put in place by government, is also very progressive in curbing corruption. Number 3, the president goes on, he says, the implementation of the Public Finance Management Act of 2018 is now in full gear. So when you look at the SONA, the State of the Nation address by the president, he speaks to 3 critical pieces of legislation that will have a direct bearing on curbing corruption on our motherland. And for that, we want to commend the president, and we call on civil society organizations and other stakeholders, watchdog institutions, that instead of just complaining, we have now been given tools to ensure that we deal with corruption wherever it rears its ugly head. It is our hope and prayer that civil society organizations will now empower themselves, build capacity in terms of budget tracking, expenditure tracking, so that we are able to play an effective watchdog role responsibility. This has been made possible through these 3 key pieces of legislation. And I thought that was very important for me to be able to look at that SONA address. All in all, this morning I want to indicate that the SONA principles and values of our great nation have been well articulated, and in particular, the action by the President to come to the aid of Chama Msonda is an act of humanity, is an act of care, an act of love. And as I indicated, it puts the icing on the cake. When you look at the SONA and you look at the actions by the President to take on the medical bills of this young lady, it explains Ubuntu, it explains love, and as I indicated at the beginning of the program, this is a behavior, this is a spirit which all of us as citizens must be able to emulate and be the brother's keeper, be the sister's keeper, demonstrate Ubuntu, love one another, and care for fellow human beings.
They say parting is such sweet sorrow. Let's end it there.
I'm very grateful for the invitation. I'm thankful to Pan-African Radio, in particular for also bringing the song which was sung at the UPND convention. I want to be very clear that we stand on objective analysis. We will criticize where it is due, where there is fall-ups. We will endeavor to ensure that we do the correct thing. And so we want to call on the citizens of the Republic of Zambia to look at the Young African Leaders Initiative and the Democracy and Motherland Coalition as a coalition that will stand up for the greater good of the people of the Republic of Zambia. So I'm once again thankful for having given us this opportunity.
Yali President Andrew Ntewewe, thank you so much, and wish to thank everyone that listened to the program, and also those that called. We really appreciate. Join me on Friday when I return with another edition of the People's Debate. I am Caesar Sindele. Have a good day and enjoy the rest.